Drop the gun! Give me the money! The moment he said it, the taxi driver started laughing. The robber's hand began to tremble. Because that laugh wasn't the laugh of an ordinary taxi driver. It was 2:47 a.m. on a freezing February night in downtown Calgary. The snow was falling heavy, covering the empty streets like a white blanket. Most people were home, warm in their beds. But not Jake Morrison. Jake had been driving his yellow cab through these streets for the past 8 years, ever since he'd moved to Alberta from, well, that was a story for another time. Jake pulled up to the corner of 8th Avenue and 1st Street SW, right outside the old Imperial Bank building. The city looked different at night, quieter, more dangerous. His radio crackled with dispatch calls, but Jake wasn't paying attention. His mind was elsewhere, as it often was during these late-night shifts. A figure emerged from the shadows. Tall, thin, wearing a dark hoodie pulled low over his face. The man approached the cab, opened the rear door, and slid into the back seat. "Where to?" Jake asked, glancing in the rearview mirror. "Airport," the passenger mumbled, his voice barely audible. Jake put the car in drive and started heading toward the Calgary International Airport. The route would take them through some of the quieter parts of the city, past the Bow River, through the industrial district, perfect for what the passenger had in mind. They drove in silence for about 10 minutes. Jake kept stealing glances in the mirror. Something felt off. The passenger's hands were fidgeting, his leg bouncing nervously. His breathing was shallow, quick. Jake had seen these signs before, many times before. As they passed under the 16th Avenue overpass, the passenger finally made his move. "Stop the car," he said, his voice now clear and commanding. Jake slowed down, but didn't stop. "We're not at the airport yet, buddy." "I said stop the car." Jake pulled over to the shoulder. Before he could turn around, he felt the cold metal of a gun barrel pressed against the back of his neck. "Drop the gun! Give me the money!" the robber shouted. And that's when Jake Morrison did something completely unexpected. He started laughing. Not a nervous chuckle or a frightened giggle. A deep, genuine laugh that seemed to come from somewhere dark and knowing. The robber's hand trembled. "What? What's so funny?" Jake's laughter grew louder, more menacing. "Oh, son," he said, his voice completely changed now. No longer the friendly Canadian taxi driver, but something else entirely. "You have no idea what you just walked into." The passenger, his name was Tyler Chen, a 23-year-old from Vancouver who'd fallen into debt with the wrong people, felt his confidence evaporating. This wasn't how it was supposed to go. The taxi driver was supposed to be scared, supposed to hand over his money and beg for his life. "I'm serious, old man." Tyler pressed the gun harder against Jake's neck. "Give me your wallet and all the cash from tonight." Jake slowly reached for his wallet, but as he did, he caught Tyler's eyes in the rear-view mirror. And Tyler saw something that made his blood run cold. Those weren't the eyes of a frightened cab driver. Those were the eyes of someone who had looked death in the face before, many times, and had never blinked. "You know," Jake said conversationally, as if they were discussing the weather, "I haven't been in a situation like this since Kandahar. That was back in '09. Different desert, different war, but the same feeling." He chuckled again. The same smell of fear. Tyler's grip on the gun loosened slightly. "What are you talking about?" "Oh, you don't know?" Jake's voice dropped to almost a whisper. "You didn't do your homework before you decided to rob me tonight, did you, Tyler?" Tyler's eyes widened. How did this man know his name? Jake continued, still completely calm. "Tyler Chen, 23, from East Vancouver." Lost your job at the construction site 3 months ago. Owe Marcus Webb and his crew about $15,000 for gambling debts. They gave you until Friday to pay up, or they'd make sure your little sister Emma had some problems walking home from UBC. The gun was shaking in Tyler's hand now. Who are you? Me? Jake turned around slowly, and Tyler got his first good look at the man's face. Weathered, scarred along the left cheek, with pale blue eyes that seemed to see right through him. I'm just a taxi driver, son. Been driving cab here in Calgary for 8 years. He paused, letting that sink in. But before that, Jake's smile disappeared completely. Before that, I spent 12 years with Joint Task Force 2. Ever heard of JTF-2, Tyler? Tyler had. Everyone in Canada had heard whispers of the elite Special Forces unit, the ones who went places that didn't exist, did things that never happened, eliminated threats that were never there. That's right, Jake continued. Counterterrorism, direct action, special reconnaissance. I've been in situations you can't even imagine. I've faced down terrorists in Afghanistan, cartel leaders in Mexico, arms dealers in Somalia. And you! He laughed again. You think you're going to rob me with a shaky hand and a gun you probably don't even know how to use properly? Tyler tried to steady his grip, but his whole body was trembling now. I'll do it. I'll shoot. No, son, you won't. Jake's voice became almost fatherly. Because you're not a killer. You're just scared, desperate. I can see it in your eyes. You've never hurt anyone in your life. You're trying to save your sister, trying to fix a problem that got too big for you. Jake reached slowly into his jacket pocket. Tyler tensed, expecting him to go for a weapon, but instead, Jake pulled out his phone. Here's what's going to happen, Jake said calmly. I'm going to make a call. One call, and Marcus Webb's gambling operation is going to have some technical difficulties? Tonight? The kind that make people forget about little debts like yours. Tyler stared at him. You can't. You're just a taxi driver. Jake dialed a number. It rang once before someone picked up. Phoenix Base, this is Midnight 6, Jake said into the phone, using words that made Tyler's blood run cold. These weren't normal words. These were military code words. Affirmative, Midnight 6. Go ahead. I need a priority cleanup on Marcus Webb, Vancouver East. Gambling operation, threatening civilians. Authorization, Echo 77. Copy that, Midnight 6. Webb will be handled within the hour. Any specific parameters? Negative, just make it clean. And make sure the Chen family debt disappears from their records. Understood. Anything else? Jake looked at Tyler in the mirror. The young man had lowered the gun and was staring at him in complete shock. Negative, Phoenix Base. Midnight 6 out. Jake hung up and turned around to face Tyler completely. Put the gun down, son. Tyler's hand went limp, and the weapon fell to the floor of the cab. Now, Jake said, let me tell you what just happened. In about 30 minutes, Marcus Webb is going to get a visit from some people who make his operation look like a children's birthday party. His computers will crash, his money will disappear, and he'll suddenly have much bigger problems than collecting 15 grand from a construction worker. Tyler could barely speak. Why? Why would you help me? Jake's expression softened. Because 12 years ago, I had a mission go wrong in Kabul. My squad was pinned down, taking heavy fire. A local cab driver, guy named Ahmad, could have driven away and left us to die. Instead, he drove straight into the firefight and got us out. All 6 of us made it home because of him. Jake started the car again. Ahmad had a daughter, about your sister's age. He risked everything to save people he didn't even know, because it was the right thing to do. They drove in silence for several minutes. Finally, Tyler found his voice. "What happens now?" "Now?" Jake glanced at him in the mirror. "Now, you go home to your sister. You tell her she's safe. You find another job. And Tyler, stay away from gambling. There are worse things than debt collectors." "And you? What happens to you?" Jake smiled, and for the first time that night, it was a warm, genuine smile. "Me? I go back to driving taxi. Most nights, I just take people to the airport, to their hotels, home from the bars. It's quiet work. Peaceful." He paused. "But every once in a while, the universe puts someone in my cab who needs a different kind of help." As they pulled up in front of Tyler's apartment building in northeast Calgary, Jake turned around one more time. "Tyler, can I give you some advice?" The young man nodded. "Real strength isn't about being the toughest guy in the room. It's about knowing when to fight and when to walk away. Tonight, you learned something important. There's always someone tougher, someone more dangerous, someone with more resources than you have. But there's also always someone willing to help, if you ask the right way." Tyler got out of the cab, then leaned down to the driver's window. "I don't know how to thank you." "Don't thank me," Jake said. "Just take care of your sister. And maybe someday, when you see someone else in trouble, someone who needs help they can't get anywhere else, maybe you'll remember tonight." Tyler nodded and walked toward his building. As he reached the front door, he turned back, but the yellow cab was already disappearing into the snowy Calgary night. Jake Morrison drove home through the empty streets, his radio quiet, his mind already shifting back to the simple concerns of an ordinary taxi driver. In his rearview mirror, he could see the city sleeping peacefully, unaware of the small drama that had just played out in the shadows. But somewhere in Vancouver, Marcus Webb was about to have a very bad night.